Hi there, my name is Wendy, and I'm super excited to have you here today. If this is your first time traveling abroad, or if you haven't traveled abroad in a while, you're in the right spot because today we're going to level up your travel game by learning about some honest to goodness, practical, and useful tips that will hopefully take away some of that pre-travel anxiety that you might be feeling. So what are we doing? What's in it for you? The first thing that we're going to be talking about are some money best practices. Then we'll look at how to get around easily. And for those of you with potty anxiety, I've got you covered. Then I'll show you a few things that you must bring with you and what you can leave behind. And then we'll wrap up with some other helpful information that will make life easier for you while you're on the go. So let's get started. Really quickly, my husband and I booked a tour to Greece through an agency called EF Go Ahead Tours. I'm not affiliated with EF Go Ahead Tours, but they provided the itinerary I was looking for. Our tour director was amazing, and it was really a seamless experience from start to finish. So if you enjoy the presentation and decide to book a tour through EF Go Ahead Tours, you don't have to, but if you want to help a sister out, I'll post my friend referral link in the comments. And if you book using my link, I may earn a few dollars toward my next trip because I'd sure love to travel with them again. The world's a huge place and they have a ton of itineraries. And the only reason I mention this is because I've been asked the question multiple times, who should I book through? And based on my experience, I'd go with EF Go Ahead Tours. If you want me to review the Greek Islands tour, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video if I get enough interest. So now, let's get on to the good stuff. So let's get the party started by talking about a few money best practices. Here's my first recommendation. When it comes to money, mix it up. You should take a combination of cash, credit cards, and your debit cards. So let's talk a little bit about each of these so you can make informed decisions about your wallet. Starting with cash. Friends, I cannot stress this enough. If you need to exchange money, go to your personal bank at least 1 month prior to travel. You'll most likely have to place an order for foreign currency. It's not like the bank has a bunch of foreign currency lying around. You'll of course have to pay the current exchange rate and probably a nominal fee for the transaction, but you must plan ahead of time. Another tip that I have is to see if you can specify denominations. A lot of times the bank will give you 50s or 100s. Smaller notes are more practical for the everyday stuff. And if you can get coin, please ask for some. They'll probably say no. But if you're traveling to Europe, for example, having a few 1 or 2 euro coins is a good idea. If it's not possible, please find a place where you can make an exchange for coin or buy some water in a store at your destination that can break the larger note. Trust me, you're going to think before it later. All right, let's take a look at credit cards in the spirit of mixing it up. When it comes to credit cards, bring 2, 1 Visa and 1 MasterCard if possible. I've been to places that don't accept MasterCard. I've been to places that don't accept Visa. So by taking one of each, you'll reduce your chances of being out of luck. It's also a good idea to notify your credit card company that you're traveling to prevent your transactions from getting denied. The other big thing that you need to do with your credit cards is research your cardholder benefits. Make sure you know about your cash advances, your transaction fees, and fraud protection policies. Believe it or not, I discovered that my credit card reimbursed me for the TSA PreCheck fee. It was totally awesome, and I got to use TSA PreCheck for the first time. It was like magical for some reason. I don't know. It's the little things, guys. But I wouldn't have known that had I not read the fine print. You should have your credit card number and customer service number handy and packed separately from your person. I don't have my credit card number memorized, let alone the customer service phone numbers. So if something happens with your credit card, you'll be asked for your credit card number when you call customer service. And sure, there are ways you can probably speak to somebody without your card number, but it is by far easier if you know the credit card number. Some folks leave copies of their credit cards at home with family. You need to figure out a way to have it easily accessible if you lose your card. Now, a lot of folks tell you to leave your debit card at home, and I can appreciate the need for caution. But my debit card has served me well during my travels, mainly because I consistently go over budget. But you should know how to use your debit card to your advantage. The first trick is to research if your bank partners with any financial institutions where you're traveling. If you find a partner, it's business as usual. You'll pay a conversion rate, but can still benefit from the services of your bank at home. And if you're lucky, you might even avoid an ATM fee. The second debit card tip is to avoid using your debit card for purchases. Debit cards pull directly from your bank, and if you happen to become a victim of fraud and someone has access to your money, chances are you're not going to get your money back. It's super stressful to deal with while you're on vacation, so please refrain from using your debit card for purchases. And then, just like home, be aware of your surroundings. Guard your PIN and keep your card safe. My next recommendation is super important. If you need cash, make sure you withdraw money from an actual bank ATM and not from a general machine marked ATM. These types of ATMs are located in high tourist areas. They seem like a bank ATM, but they aren't. They're a cash machine attached to a wall. They often have horrible conversion rates and can sometimes charge high fees to withdraw cash. They are, in all fairness, legitimate ATMs and are typically safe to use. So if you absolutely must use one, it's okay. You will have to agree to the fees and conversion rate before you withdraw your money, just like you would at a normal ATM. And the only reason I'm letting you know is because I want you to get more bang for your buck at a real bank, because once again, we're all about budget here. And if you're not about budget, remember our golden rule. And finally, let's talk about tipping. Yes, you should absolutely tip. There's a rumor going around that you don't have to tip in foreign countries. Be a good human. If you receive a service, provide a tip. This applies to servers, hotel staff, cab drivers, tour bus drivers, tour guides. It is not any different than tipping at home. Remember, for many of these folks, this is their profession, not just some job while working their way through college. COVID lockdowns hurt the service industry, so if you're able to give a little extra, please do it. My final recommendation is when it comes to dining out, it's okay to ask for food and drink recommendations, but you must ask to see a menu with a printed cost of the item. Waiters, chefs, whomever are most likely proud of their cuisine and want you to taste the finest. But those recommendations may come with a hefty price tag, and you, not knowing any better, might get stuck with an unexpected bill. It probably won't happen, but I'm just mentioning it so you don't get taken advantage of. Let's move on to some transportation best practices. If you can, scheduling transportation ahead of time is a good idea for peace of mind. For example, for taxi cabs, if you're not sure who to trust, go to your hotel's website. They may have a shuttle from the airport or have a partnership with a reputable cab company. Most likely, you can email the hotel directly pre-departure for any of those recommendations. If you're on site, ask the hotel concierge. It's not rocket science. Some cab companies have websites or an app, just like Uber or Lyft. You can view your driver and communicate with them directly, real time. I was able to find our driver quickly because he told us where he was waiting and what he was wearing. He even met us at the gate. Super convenient. The service we used was Welcome Pickups. Once again, I'm not affiliated with them and you don't have to use them, but I had a few excellent experiences booking through Welcome Pickups. I downloaded the app, which allowed me to request my driver again, the same driver. It was really cool. So the other thing I recommend that you do is downloading WhatsApp if you don't have it already. WhatsApp is how I communicated with the driver and our tour director, the hotel. It was really a convenient app to have while I was traveling. So as far as money goes, let's talk about that. In theory, the taxi driver can accept a credit card, assuming you're in a more metropolitan area. My recommendation is to have cash, both notes and coin, on hand as well. Technology fails. Your credit card gets declined because you forgot to notify your bank of international travel, or the driver simply doesn't accept credit cards. Have both. Also, make sure you have enough cash to tip your driver. Our driver was like a tour guide on the way to the hotel. He was amazing, so I tipped him well. Remember, this is their business, this is their livelihood, so if you get someone special, pay them for it. Now, for those of you who are island hopping, such as in Greece or any other seafaring nation, you may be traveling by ferry. And while it seems like smooth sailing, joke intended, I wanted to share with you a few tips so you know what to expect. All right, so let's pretend we're going back to Greece. The ferry arrives. The passengers on the ferry rush out and then you rush in. You've got to be quick here, folks. No lollygagging. The ferry will leave without you. Grab your stuff, stack it on the luggage racks or put it in the designated storage area. Have your ticket out and get in line to get seated. If people get pushy, it's okay. That's normal. It's every man or woman for him or herself, folks. Let me tell you. Sometimes you won't even sit in your assigned seat. Just go with the flow and sit where they tell you. It might be helpful to have some Dramamine with you. Even if you don't need it, the guy next to you might need it, and you should be highly invested in his ability to handle motion sickness. There are a lot of different ways you can travel, and it varies from country to country. If you travel by bus via public transportation, keep your ticket with you. You might buy your ticket at a machine or buy it when you enter the bus. The reason why I say keep your ticket with you is because I totally tossed my ticket once in France and an actual conductor came by to verify tickets. I mean, thank goodness I was cute at the time. It was like super stressful. So please keep track of your tickets and hopefully you won't find yourself in that situation. When it comes to rental cars, your driver's license will typically be honored internationally, but car rentals and gas can be expensive, so keep that in mind. If you want some exercise around the city, rent a bike. You're cool for being eco-friendly. Go for it. Traveling by train or metro is standard. Usually you'll buy the ticket at the station. If you're traveling by train on a long trip, you'll probably want to book in advance. Once again, keep your ticket with you and be aware of the route in case you need to transfer. We are now entering my favorite part of the presentation, the toilet situation. When I travel, the first thing that goes through my mind is, where are the toilets? I'm sure there are a few of you who think about this too, which is why toilets have earned a place in this presentation. So when it comes to bathrooms, there are a few rules you should know before you go. When you stay at a hotel, in theory, you can expect a clean and easily accessible toilet. Most toilets have 2 flush settings, stun and kill. Choose what's appropriate for your circumstance. But what about public restrooms? Here are the rules of toilet engagement. Follow the instructions because nobody wants a grumpy toilet. Trust me on this one. Also, always keep coin in your pocket. It's not uncommon to be charged 50 cents or €1 to use a public restroom, especially in touristy areas. Another pro tip is to pack a travel roll of toilet paper. You don't want to get caught empty-handed, folks. It's a very uncomfortable ride back to the hotel. All right, and now, the squatty potty. Have any of you ever heard of the squatty potty? In very few instances, you may run across a toilet that is basically a hole in the ground. You don't flush, you just do your business in a hole. If you're lucky, you'll have a toilet seat. The technical term for it is pit latrine, and for many of us, it's a totally new way to potty. But before you get disgusted, just know that a pit latrine, when constructed and maintained properly, is an effective way to dispose of waste. And I always say that you haven't experienced life until you've gone in a squatty potty. My first pit latrine was in France, and there wasn't a stall. It was a plein air potty, and I was plein air desperate. So if you come across a pit latrine, keep an open mind, get in and get out. So now that you're prepared for how to potty in a foreign land, let's talk about those mission critical items that you will need to pack. We love our electronics, but along with those electronics are plugs and chargers, for which you will most likely need an adapter. A plug adapter simply allows you to plug your electronics into an outlet of another country. There are different types of plugs and sockets depending on where you live in the world. You should research which socket type is used at your destination. It's very easy to Google. There are so many options to buy. Adapters are often sold in sets, or they make a universal adapter that can switch between multiple socket types. The key is to not confuse a plug adapter with a voltage converter. Adapters do not convert voltage. So why is this important to know? Well, since we want to avoid causing fires and becoming an international incident abroad, you're going to need a voltage converter for your devices, particularly for high-powered electronics such as my straightening iron used to create Greek goddess hair on vacation. The US uses 120 volts with a frequency of 60 hertz. Greece, for example, uses 230 volts with a frequency of 50 hertz. Since my straight iron is 120 volts, I need a voltage converter to be able to use it and avoid causing an electrical fire or breaking my precious Greek goddess hair straightening iron. The good news is that you can find adapter voltage converter combos, or you can buy them separately. You just have to do your research. Now, a good idea is to look at the voltage and wattage of your high-powered device, such as hairdryer or straightening iron, and make sure your voltage converter can handle the wattage. Otherwise, you risk breaking your device. I learned that the hard way, folks. That's why I tell you. In addition to your electronic chargers, some other key items to have on hand, of course, are your maintenance medications. I personally like to take an extra 2 to 3 weeks of my maintenance medication. I had a diabetic professor in college, and he got stranded in Italy after the volcano in Iceland exploded. I think this was in 2010, somewhere around there. And that grounded flights in Europe for several weeks. And so, of course, he didn't have enough insulin to account for the act of God explosion in Iceland. But thankfully, Italy has insulin. But I mention it because you never know what's going to happen, and having extra medication makes it easier and less stressful. Also think about bringing over-the-counter things that you might need, like antacids, ibuprofen, antidiarrheals for that ever so popular travel diarrhea. Always bring a reusable water bottle and make sure that you fill that sucker up as soon as possible and as often as possible. Carry a backpack so your hands are free. Now, I don't care where you're traveling, bring a windbreaker or light coat. Bonus if you can fit it into the backpack. So, speaking from experience, Bring shoes with traction. I made the mistake of bringing Greek goddess sandals, and I kid you not, I slipped and fell on my not so Greek goddess butt on a fully paved road. I was sore for a month, and the plane ride home was absolutely miserable because it hurt to sit down, and it was awful. So don't be like me. Bring some shoes with traction. It's probably a good idea to have a portable snack on hand. I try not to bring things that will make me thirsty. Sometimes, you can't always prevent that, but just be aware of what you're bringing. So, for example, if you're bringing fruit, make sure you have somewhere to dispose of the rinds or the core or the peel. And bonus, if you throw a clean pair of underwear somewhere in your backpack, you'll be very grateful because, well, you just never know. For those of us who don't have our own private jet, we're limited to what we can take with us. So here are a few things that you can leave at home. Your fancy shampoo and conditioner. Most hotels will have them for you, and if they don't, you can always buy something there. If you're traveling to a destination where toiletries won't be on hand, by all means, pack your hair care. For goodness sake, please leave behind all of the unnecessary electronics. Think about whether or not you can live without your electronics for a few days. I'd rather look at a real sunset than watch one on my iPad. Please leave the crown jewels at home. Too many accessories. So this includes shoes, belts, hats, handbags, and jewelry. Pack things that work with multiple outfits to save room in your suitcase for souvenirs. Unless you're a professional photographer, leave all the camera accessories at home. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people travel with all of this fancy camera equipment only to use their phones for their photos and videos. Don't bring bulky and heavy things such as multiple books. I love to read on a plane too, but perhaps opt for an audiobook or donate your book after you've finished reading it. And a good rule of thumb is to leave anything at home that you would lament losing. Let's wrap it up with a few extra pieces of helpful information that might help you on your travels. I'm not going to tell you how much money to bring on your trip or how much you should budget for because that's a really personal thing. I know I have budgeteers out there who run a tight ship and keep their cash in line with the plan. But when you're budgeting for your trip, keep a few things in mind. Your budget will reflect your spending habits. As a spender, I love to buy souvenirs that remind me of my trip, but I also say no a lot and I still come back happy. In fact, I think my photos bring me more joy than anything material that I would bring home with me. You might go over budget and it might not be your fault. There might be some unplanned expenses that strain your wallet, like getting sick on the trip, flight delays, or lost luggage. Also, the cost of food may vary from place to place. Alcohol, appetizers, and tips really start to add up quickly. So let me give you a visual of how much money it cost for certain types of meals on my trip to Greece. And hopefully this can help you with your budgeting. This is a meal for two in Athens for 30 euros, does not include appetizers or alcohol, and it excludes the tip. This is a 19 euro platter that was enough to feed two. No table service, just order and go for a reasonable price. This platter for one was around 40 euros, but the meal didn't include any wine or appetizers. The husband got the shrimp. I got the grilled cheese. 2 pizzas, bread, and a Greek salad for 50 euros in Athens. My husband and I were hungry, so we ordered appetizers and a meal at a restaurant on Mykonos. By the time the tip was factored in, it was around 100 euros, which was our total food budget for the day spent in one meal. But boy, folks, was it delicious. A word on cell phones. You can use your cell phone internationally, but you must check your service provider to see if they offer service in the country, whether or not they have a travel plan. For example, I think Verizon calls their plan Travel Pass, and see what the cost is for both talk and text. You may have to cancel it upon your return. Some companies, some service providers will put an end date on the service. You don't want to get charged for an international plan when you arrive home. So make sure you button up your cell phone when you come back home. Make sure you check out travel advisories from your government websites. Here in the States, you can enroll in the STEP program and get free alerts about your destination country, including travel restrictions, strikes, health concerns, anything you might want to know before you leave home. I canceled a trip once for work because the STEP program notified me of a terrorist threat in the country that I was traveling to. It was very, very handy. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our presentation. I am not really into the social media thing because I'm super boring. I have like a super boring life, to be honest. But if you want, you can follow me on Instagram or subscribe to my YouTube channel if you really, really want. If you decide to book a tour through EF Go Ahead Tours, and if you are willing, you can use my referral link located in the comments and read my disclaimer in the description below. So I hope you learned a few things that will help you on your travels. Thanks for spending time with me and happy traveling. Bye.